Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're live now. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from livestream.travel in Honolulu, Hawaii. Aloha, as we say here. With me is Dr. Peter Tarlow in College Station, Texas. And actually, you have a chance to join us live. We only have one live guest here, Enrique, and we're going to involve him in a minute. But if you wanted to be part of this discussion, don't be shy. Simply go to worldtourismevents.com and you sign up. I know some of you are posting chats now on our social media. It's going to be a little bit tough to read this all because we have so many different groups. We have like 11 Facebook groups and even more Twitter and some YouTube and Yandex and wherever, Twitter where we are. So we, unfortunately, LinkedIn, we cannot watch everything, and comments on eTurbo News, they will be kept so we can see them later. But the easiest is if you just join us live, you're directly part of the audience. Well, we always start with the weather. I can tell you here in Honolulu, it's a little bit of a cloudy, but a hot and a nice day. It's not raining, but we have a few clouds. So maybe we see the rainbow tonight if it starts raining. We don't know. Peter, how's everything in College Station?
Texas is great. Most Texans like heat. And today was between 95 and 100. That's about 38 to 42 degrees Celsius. Blue skies, lots of sun. So people were very happy today in Texas.
Wonderful. I don't know.
Nice warm day.
We have one guest here, Enrique Zaya. Maybe you want to tell us where you're from?
Let me check, Juergen. Do you hear me?
I can hear you fine. I cannot see you. That's why I cannot put you on the screen, but I can hear you.
Okay, I don't know why. From Caracas, Venezuela. You know, I always follow you.
Yes, I know. I know who you are. It was more a hypothetical question. I know exactly where you are. Caracas. I've been to Caracas many, many years ago in the late 70s on a cruise ship. I remember this, and I had a great time and enjoyed it.
How's the weather, Enrique?
Here is today. At the afternoon was a rainy day, crazy rainy day. But the weather is normal. But here we are on dry season at this moment. But every day is raining in the afternoon. It's crazy.
Like Mexico City, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I bet it's nice and warm there. I remember the last time I was in Caracas, it was a very hot day.
Yes, and
here still we have a hot sun. That's not normal.
Yes. Like Texas.
Yeah, I've been a lot of time in the States.
Yes.
And today I talk.
How is the tourism situation in Venezuela?
Too bad.
Too bad, meaning
too bad,
or
too bad, including for us. We have 1 week, what they call radical week. 1 week, flexible week. National flights only on radical week. No national flights, no nothing. Only international flights.
So 1 week you have flights on, and 1 week you have flights off.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that must make it very hard to be a tourist, because if I want to come to Caracas, you got to come at the beginning of a flexible week, I guess.
If you want to go to the Angel Falls, it's open the whole month. Only Angel Falls to Canaima. Yeah. But if you want to go to the island, to Los Roques or Margarita Island, 1 week yes, 1 week no.
So you have to go at the beginning of the week, because if you go at the end of the week, you'd have to wait 10 days till the next.
10 days, minimum 8 days to 7 nights, minimum.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to have to wait till you get a little more, some more flights, because that'd be hard. I see another person joining us here.
We have Aslan Hussein. If you want to tell us where you're from.
Yes, Mr. Steinmetz. I'm Aslan. I'm from Kuala Lumpur, and I represent the Kuala Lumpur Tourism Association.
Wonderful.
I gave the lectures in Kuala Lumpur about a few years ago on tourism security from Malaysia.
Yeah. So, sorry, what's the question? Oh, is
No,
that a
I was
question?
just telling, no question. I was just telling
Oh,
you
sorry.
that a few years ago, I had the honor of being in Kuala Lumpur, where I lectured the tourism industry on the importance of tourism security for Malaysia.
Oh, I see. What was that with the Tourism Malaysia, or was it with the any of the associations here?
I think it was with the Tourism Association, yes. They invited me to come to Malaysia.
Okay, we have a big one.
Yes, in Kuala
Oh,
Lumpur. You have a beautiful airport.
Yeah,
And
but
yeah, Malaysia is a great, hopefully when we're all getting out of COVID and we can travel, I can say I always went shopping in Malaysia because it's a wonderful place to shop. It is inexpensive for our kind of understanding. And you have wide selections of very unique merchandise, not only clothes. I couldn't buy clothes because it looks like you don't really sell clothes for big people like me. but there was a lot to do. And I went to Malaysia during the Commonwealth Tourism Conference was going on. And at the same time, there was also the Formula One car races going on. So it was a very, very busy weekend last time I was in Kuala Lumpur. How's the situation in Kuala Lumpur right now? I understand you're back into lockdowns and into COVID restrictions now.
yeah, we have issues on the discipline of the masses. The vaccination rate now, I think we are touching 50% already of the population.
Very high,
and
50%.
Yes. And we were achieving something like over 500,000 vaccinations per day, which is one of the highest in the world.
Right.
Which vaccines are you using?
Sorry?
Which vaccine are you using?
We use, in fact, almost all. The Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Sinovac, and now the CanSino has come in. We are also receiving. You see, the whole trouble is the supply of vaccines has been very slow. So whatever we have got, we accept, and that's from everywhere.
Yeah, so you get whatever you can get. Yeah.
Sorry?
You get whatever you can get.
That's right. That's right. And then we have the government has just announced they've got another 6 million vaccines coming in by next month. So we hope the government hopes to achieve 80%, hopefully by the end of the year.
Wow, that would be better than what we have here. And we do here, we have plenty of vaccine, but people are hesitant to get the vaccine. So that's why we have only about 60 or 50 some percent, I think, fully vaccinated in the United States. Is there a hesitation in Malaysia, or is everyone just ready to get vaccinated?
I think we have issues like the anti-vaxxers here too. We have
Anti-vaxxers.
We even have issues also now with some teachers who do not want to be vaccinated. They are part of the anti-vaxxers, and that causes a problem with our education with the schools, some of the schools. Yeah. So we have these challenges. Just as I say, we have a problem with discipline in our population here.
And you're not alone there. I think the entire world is facing the same type of problem, whether you look at Europe or you look at Asia. And I was surprised because when you heard about Malaysia, when you also heard about Singapore, and a while ago Indonesia, there was hardly any COVID. It almost seemed like it was wiped out, and then it kind of came back. Is this the same situation we have here? Because we have record high numbers with the Delta version. Is this the same thing you have?
Oh yeah, the Delta version is causing a big problem here because what we see is that once the virus gets into the body, the person dies very fast.
Right.
Oh, but they should not die quickly if they're already vaccinated. It should only be if you have not been vaccinated.
Correct, Dr. Tarlow, because a lot of in the statistics, a lot of them are those with preconditions.
Yes.
Preconditions with diabetes and heart and all that.
Yes.
And most of them are also not vaccinated.
Yes. That seems to be the problem because the numbers are not real numbers on some level. You really, we do have to divide between vaccinated without comorbidities and then people with comorbidities and then people who have not been vaccinated. So those are really three very different groups of people. And in the Delta variant, if you are healthy and vaccinated, then you're probably not going to have more than a bad cold. But if you are not vaccinated or you have a comorbidity, that's a whole different world. And then you are in some real trouble. So one of the ways to get around that is make sure you get vaccinated.
Yeah, we see that in the statistics now. We used to have we are managing the health ministry is managing the statistics very well now, and we have found out that the stage 1 and 2 are very high now, which means they are not serious.
Yes.
So they can be quarantined at home.
Right.
And the statistics for the stage 3, 4, and 5 are coming down.
Yes.
The stage 1 and 2 are very.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm hoping that things open up and that Juergen is able to go back shopping in Malaysia. Of course, what he needs to do, because he is a big man, is he needs to buy only shorts, and that way it won't bother him.
Problem in Malaysia because you guys are all nice and slim people, you know. So and there's a market, you know. Seriously, a guy like this, it's not only in Malaysia. You go to shops here, and you're not really asking what style you want to buy. It's that, do you have my size? And then you decide what is left for you, you know. So that is definitely something. And in Malaysia, to lose weight is a real challenge because your food is so excellent, you know. So
yeah, the good news for Mr. Steinmetz is the plan is to open Langkawi by next month.
Wow, that's good news. Would this be like restricted to the area, or only with direct flights, or what are the plans for this?
I think the for the international is direct flights, and the plan is I think Qatar Airways plans to fly into Langkawi.
Right.
So well, things are not. We have not heard of the latest news yet, but that was the plan.
What are there any impacts of what's going on in Afghanistan, either in Malaysia or in Venezuela?
In Venezuela, no.
And how about in Malaysia?
We so far not yet, but we have some of them here already before.
Some of the refugees already.
Yeah, you must remember. I remember this Afghan problem even started when I was living in Germany. They were already fleeing the country in the 80s. So it's not a new movement for them. For me, from my observation,
it's a lot more now. So
yeah. So but so far not yet, because there's no communication, no air communication between Afghanistan and Southeast Asia.
Yes. All right. Well, then you don't have to worry about cutting flights because you don't have any. So
no, we don't.
So that's a good thing, I guess, in its own way. What do you see as the biggest problems facing tourism in either Malaysia or Venezuela? What is your number one problem?
Malaysia?
Well, you could answer for Venezuela, and Enrique could answer for Malaysia, but probably better than Enrique answers for Venezuela and you answer for Malaysia. But you can do it any way you want.
Here in Venezuela, there is no problem with tourism. The problem is there is no passengers. You know, people don't want to come to Venezuela because the rumor here is everybody's tall. And now it's more, how can I say, it's better than before. Now there is no crime on the streets. Now you can walk at night and there is no problem, except that you go to a bad area.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the normal areas, there is no problem.
I see. And of course, you have a bad area in every city, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, with Venezuela, of course, like many countries, had challenges recently. So are these challenges overcome when it comes to the travel and tourism industry besides COVID? If COVID wasn't there, do you think your tourism industry would function very well at this point?
Yes, at this moment, we can, everybody now at this moment, according to all the airlines and governments, you can go to any place without vaccine. That's the new.
Right.
All the governments are publishing. If you are not vaccinated, you can go. You can get in, except some countries. Now, for example, from Caracas, we only have flight to Caracas, Cancun, Caracas, Dominican Republic, and Caracas, Istanbul, with Turkish Airlines.
Oh, Turkish, that's amazing. Turkish Airlines, you know, it's
Yes,
amazing.
They have five flights a week.
Wow.
From Caracas.
Yeah, so once you go to Istanbul, you can go to almost any place. I see we have a third person joining us, Alan de Souza. Where are you from? But his microphone is off.
Sorry, the last I didn't.
I see we have a third person joining us.
Alan
de Souza, but his microphone is off. So if he turns his microphone off, we could hear him. But I don't know.
Station.
There he is.
He is. Yeah, where are you
listening to your conversation
from, Alan?
No, Alan de Souza, he's not more here.
Are you here, Mr. de Souza?
Yeah, it's Alan, and I'm from Montreal, and I'm on. I can hear you guys. I was listening to this conversation.
Here now we have problem. You know, I didn't know. I get in just this week. The problem we have with the US.
Yeah.
Because we.
Mr. de Souza, you're from Montreal?
Yes.
Yes. And tell us, what do you do in Montreal, in Montreal?
Well, I'm a retired 81-year-old guy. And I do a lot of,
like me. All right.
Yeah. And I do a lot of volunteer work. Keeps me busy 25 hours a day.
Oh, good.
And I have my home office, and I keep truly busy. That's why I can't join into most of these. Like I was telling Juergen, I couldn't, you know.
Yes, I'm here.
I just got in.
Yeah.
And I got in and on the nick of time, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm back.
Thank you. Now we're talking to Alan, and thanks for joining us. I know it's quite late in Montreal.
10 o'clock.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock, and it's a beautiful city. Montreal is so different from any North American city. Not only because it's French, but it's French speaking. It's just the atmosphere.
After traveling around the world, I always say that Montreal is one of the best cities. They're ruining it with the language problem. And they don't realize they've already done so much damage, and they're still continuing with it.
Yeah. Well, I like that when I'm in Montreal, I get to practice my French. So
they don't speak, unfortunately, they don't speak Parisian French here.
No,
they speak a Joal.
Yeah, they speak.
Which the Parisians laugh at.
Yeah. But everybody's very sweet to me because
no, it's a lovely place. I mean,
and I always say to them, je n'ai pas étudié français, mais je
parle petit peu, oui.
I've never studied French, but I'd like to speak with you in French, and everybody helps me.
No, it's a great place. I've been here 53 years.
Yeah.
And
where are you from originally?
Bombay, India.
Oh, well, that's very different from Parisian French.
I studied in French in high school and in university, but we didn't have any spoken French.
Yeah.
But and I lived in Toronto, I lived in Vancouver, and really this place is takes the cake. It's really good. We have so many festivals in the summertime.
Yes. And did you know that you are the bagel capital of Canada?
The what? Pardon
The
me?
bagel capital of Canada.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And smoked meat. Don't forget that smoked meat.
Yes.
You have the biggest sandwich in the world.
I was on a train between Montreal and Ottawa, and there was a huge fight on the train over who had better bagels, Montreal, Toronto, or Ottawa.
No. Montreal's the king.
Yes, and
they know.
And by the time I got to Ottawa, I couldn't eat because everybody was giving me bagels from one place or the other, and so I must have had 5 bagels on the.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, it was delicious. It was a great train ride.
And you'll be very fussy where we buy it from, because one is the king.
Yes,
and the rest are trying to imitate them.
Yeah, many people do not know that Montreal is world famous for its bagels.
And have you seen a smoked meat sandwich here?
Yes.
It's got about 1.5 inch of meat.
Yes,
slices.
It's like a New York delicatessen. Yes, it's very. Last time I was in Montreal, I had a wonderful time. I was flabbergasted by the amount of Jewish French food in Montreal. It was.
We got international. We have international food here.
Yes.
Every conceivable country, we can get food here.
Yeah, you're the bagel capital of Canada. So I hope that my Canadian friends in other parts of the country don't get mad.
I have to say, Montreal for me is the reason I now live in Hawaii. Not necessarily in Hawaii, in North America, the United States. My very first trip to North America was during the Olympics in 1976.
That was a nice time.
And this was, I think, the best time I ever had as a young guy at the time. It was so much fun. I mean, this is like the trip of the lifetime, and we met so many people. And that's how I ended up actually moving to the US after this. And I always wanted to move to Canada at the time, but things came a little bit different. And the other thing really on Montreal, you mentioned festivals. Last time I was in Montreal, right before Corona, there was the Laugh Festival. I was staying at the Hyatt Hotel.
Just for laughs.
Your window and see all these things going on. And it's a very fun town. And you have Just for Laughs. It's a show.
Right.
I have to say, every night before I go to sleep, I watch like 2 or 3 of these sessions on YouTube. They're really relaxing and they're so much fun. So I know Montreal is
and if you hear the jazz festival, we have a terrific jazz festival worldwide. Right. They come in here. Yeah. Well, we have lots of festivals.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me the real theme of today, even though we only had 3 people, was despite COVID and despite some of the other problems, tourism is alive and well, and it's just waiting to come back to life. I see we have somebody else here, Mr. Vakaria. Hello, Mr. Vakaria. I see your picture, but I see your. Turn on your microphone and you can.
Mahendra Vakaria. I think you cannot say Mahendra. How are you, Mahendra?
Hi, morning, Peter. How are you, Dr. Peter and Juergen?
Good. Tell everybody where you're from.
Hi, my name is Mahendra. I'm from Ahmedabad, a city in the western part of India, and I'm a travel advisor and entrepreneur.
Wow.
Oh, must be really early in the morning for you.
Not so bad. It's 7:50, almost 8 o'clock. So it's the day is begun already, and it's the first day of the week. So super excited to get into the office and start working.
Well, we're glad to have you here. So that's great.
Thank you.
We've been talking about what are some of the key issues in tourism. We have somebody here from Malaysia, somebody from Venezuela, somebody from Canada, and now from India. What are some of the key tourism issues that you see in India?
Currently, as we speak, we are in a much comfortable situation as far as the dreaded COVID is concerned. So things have started to get back to normal since last 2 months. A lot of people are traveling for holidays within India. International travel is still a kind of an start-stop situation because there are a lot of countries which have opened up, but there's still so much of confusion with regards to rules and regulations and protocols and things like that. So that's really a pain. Every moment, every day, it keeps changing. So, so advising a customer to plan a holiday is becoming a challenge. But having said that, life at this moment seems to be very much in control and progressing to what we would call a normal situation. They are talking of the third wave hitting us or whatever. We only hope that it's not as impactful as it was in the month of April, May, when it happened so suddenly and so fast that the administration just was caught napping, kind of a situation. But yeah, people are more mindful now, I would say. And reality is people are wanting to travel, period. They're so frustrated sitting at home for the last 15 months.
Yeah.
But thankfully, due to this forced holidays within India, a lot of domestic homegrown hotels, individual boutique hotels, homestays have done wonderful business in this last months, and they have been able to sustain themselves in spite of all the challenges otherwise. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, I would say. But till international travel does not open up for a huge Indian outbound tourism market, the industry is going to be challenged for sure.
And I think you hit a really important point, which is not so much the regulations, but the constant changing of the regulations. Because if there's a consistency, then at least we know what to do and what to expect. But when they change the regulations every other day, people are afraid because there's no consistency. And so that makes it really hard to travel. And I think your point is very, very well taken. And that's not a point just for India. I think that's a point that touches the entire world. So
it is such a nightmare right now. You know that you are becoming the Wikipedia of the world in terms of an advisor, as to constantly you need to keep checking, reviewing websites to understand whether the protocol has changed, any government has introduced a new regulation or restriction or whatever. For example, we have this huge backlog of students in India who have to get into Canada before the 15th of September. Now, both the governments have stopped direct flights. Canadian government is not allowing direct flights from India into Canada for students. They have to go via a third country because they're not accepting the RT-PCR report of India, but they're accepting a report from a third country. Now, it's becoming such a terrible mess and a situation. It's so sorry to see the students suffering, but nobody seems to be disturbed at all. So, yeah, it's quite a chaotic situation.
Yeah. And that, again, by the way, is true in all sorts of situations around the world. So it's not just India. You know, we closed the border between the United States and Canada. Then they opened it for a day. Then they closed it again. So, you know, you just literally, laws change by the hour sometimes.
Yeah, and then
no matter what you say, an hour later, it's a different law.
Yeah, and if you caught in the mix, you know, especially as a traveler, this is how people get stranded. And unfortunately, through this crisis, we have many examples from the very first moment this crisis came. There is no coordination. There is no world tourism body that really has an influence over anything. The World Tourism Organization itself has been pretty much useless, in my opinion. And the private industry is trying hard, but there is no leadership. There is the World Health Organization, of course, but then their concern isn't tourism. So it's a real issue. We have another guest joining us, Jose Ting, is that correct? Jose, you want to say where you're from?
Yes, unmute yourself, Jose. Jose, if you can hear yourself. Jose, if you unmute yourself, we can talk to you.
Yeah.
Going once, going twice.
So maybe he doesn't have a microphone. Anyways,
no, maybe he just wanted to listen to us. He just said, sorry, I don't have a mic. He doesn't have a mic and he doesn't have a camera. So he's in a listening situation. So Jose, if you write and tell me where you're listening to us from, I'll announce that. So he's writing from Thailand, in Bangkok.
Peter, he's from Thailand. He's from Bangkok.
Yes. So I don't know if he pronounces his name Jose or Jos, because I don't know if I'm reading it in Spanish or in Thai, but hopefully we didn't insult you, but we're glad that you joined us, even if okay, it's Jose in Spanish. Perfecto, okay. So actually we have 3 Spanish-speaking people on this call today. So that's great. Okay. Well, does anybody else, Juergen, do you have something you'd like to say, or?
No, but I'm glad. I think it was a different type of format. I kind of like it. We get people involved. It's a small group. I see we have quite a few people watching us together on social media and our other platforms. And in the future, if you wanted to be part of our group, just go to World Tourism Events, sign up. We don't bite. So, but it's good to get people involved in our conversation. We also, we have from time to time, we have invited guests on the show, like we had on our North America show recently, where we're talking about a new way of testing. Maybe Peter, you can summarize a little bit. It was an interesting session about the new way this company we had as a guest is conducting the corona test.
Yeah, it's a format of a serology test. And those types of tests don't look to see if you are COVID negative or not. What you want to do is you want to have a positive reading. And what you want to show is that you have enough antibodies to fight off any attack of corona. So you're not looking to see what your state of corona is, because you can be negative on one day and the next day you're not negative. But if you have the antibodies, then you're able to say, okay, for at least the next 6 months, you are you're good to go. And so the problem is that there are a few countries in the world that are doing this well. Probably the leading country in the world is Israel. But the need to be able to say to people, okay, rather than every time you get on a plane, you have to be tested. I'm in Latin America all the time, and it's a real pain, especially if you're going from one Latin American country to another. You have to get tested multiple times. But if we could create a card that would say, okay, from January 1 until June 1, we know you have enough antibodies that it really doesn't matter. And that would make travel so much easier. And we're looking for ways to be able to create make ourselves safe, but show that people have enough antibodies into the system so that they don't have to worry. I got my booster shot, my third shot, on Friday. And so now I'm okay. But that means that at least for another 6 or 8 months, I don't really have to worry when I'm traveling, because I have plenty of antibodies to be able to protect me. And that would make life for, say, somebody like our friend in India a lot simpler. So it shows that there is some hope. Hopefully that these will be things that will be coming down the pike. And before we know it, maybe science will help tourism get back on its feet.
Well, wonderful. We're a little bit, 5 minutes actually over our 30 minutes, or 10 minutes over our 30 minutes. But what is good. So I had a good time. I hope everyone else enjoyed it. And if you wanted to be part at our next show, we already have quite a few people signed up. This is on Thursday at 8 a.m. my time in Hawaii, what would make it 2 a.m. in the morning in Malaysia. So I think for our friends in Thailand, Malaysia, or even India, it'll be about midnight or 12:30 in the morning. It might be a little bit late. 1 a.m. in Thailand, that's correct. We have 7 hours here. The other way around, it's kind of a day plus minus 7. Thanks for saying. But anyways, thank you everyone for joining us. And if you wanted to watch yourself and watch this again, we're going to put it in archive. So it's going to be rotating with some of our other events for the next day or two. And but it will always be available when you go to livestream.travel or to our YouTube channel, and you can watch it anytime and also forward to your friends and let others know about us. In the meantime, I give Peter the last word, but I wanted to say aloha from Hawaii. Don't forget to read eToba News. We're working on a lot of really interesting stories right now. Just stay tuned. And there's a lot going on in the world, obviously. And Peter, you have the last word.
Yeah, I think the real theme of tonight was that we all share certain commonalities and problems. And one of the big issues is the need to have consistency in tourism so that people know exactly what to expect and when to expect it. And that's something that's really important, that we start working together. One of the great American patriots, Patrick Henry, said, we either hang together, we either work together, or we hang separately. And I think that's really true of tourism too. We either work together or we will destroy ourselves separately. So let's hope that we work together and find a way to make world tourism a really successful place. With that, I'm going to say from Texas, good night to everybody, or good morning if you are on the other side of the world, and wish you all a very happy, I'll just say good, and you can say good evening, good morning, good night, whatever you like. So good, happy good to everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Former Israel PM Netanyahu has a hidden agenda in Hawaii. Israel is telling citizens not to go abroad, but former Israeli Prime Minister and current opposition leader Benjamin Netanyahu is currently vacationing on the island of Lanai in Hawaii. The island of Lanai is owned by Larry Ellison, an Jewish-American billionaire and owner of internet tech company Oracle. Larry Ellison is also a prosecution witness in Benjamin Netanyahu's upcoming corruption trial in Israel. I'm at the Four Seasons Lanai and former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is staying here, along with a group of Mossad bodyguards, was the message posted by a hotel guest today. When a former PM is traveling, one can assume there is always a hidden agenda. With the former Israeli PM spotted on the island of Lanai, is this agenda looking for a Hawaiian rainbow, or perhaps meeting a prosecution witness who is supposed to testify for the prosecutor in an upcoming trial against the PM? On the same day, another death, 763 additional COVID-19 infections were recorded in the U.S. state of Hawaii. Count by island includes 469 new cases on Oahu, 123 on Maui, 126 on Hawaii Island, 26 on Kauai, 5 on Molokai, 3 on Lanai, and 11 Hawaii residents diagnosed outside the state. On August 16, the current opposition leader in Israel was spotted sitting on an airport trolley at San Francisco Airport waiting for his golf bags. Apparently, he was on his long way from Tel Aviv to the island of Lanai in Hawaii. Staying at the Four Seasons of Lanai is not inexpensive. The penthouse suite at the Four Seasons Hotel Lanai costs $21,000 per night, making it the most expensive suite in Hawaii. The island is also home to 2 golf courses, including Manly Golf Course. In 1994, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates got married at the 17th hole of the course. Ex-PM insists he and his family are paying for a trip to Lanai in Hawaii, the island known to be the host for many millionaires and billionaires over time. According to the Time of Israel, the transportation minister also vacationing in U.S. despite government pleas against travel abroad. Despite a record outbreak of the Delta variant of COVID-19 currently, Hawaii welcomes 20-30,000 new visitors every single day. Such visitors are arriving from U.S. destinations and need to show a U.S.-issued CDC certificate of vaccination, or produce a U.S.-issued PCR test certificate. Therefore, visitors are mostly domestic tourists or returning residents. It's not clear how the former PM could have done this if flying to Hawaii without a stopover in San Francisco, as reported in Israeli media. The island of Lanai is part of Maui County and more than 98% is privately owned by Jewish-American billionaire Larry Ellison, the head of Oracle. The smallest inhabited island travelers may visit in Hawaii. Lanai offers big enticements to its visitors. For the former Prime Minister, it may actually do much more, a meeting with the owner of the island, Jewish-American billionaire, and friend Larry Ellison. Ellison is also a witness in an important upcoming corruption trial against the former PM. Only 9 miles from Maui yet a world away, Lanai can feel like 2 places. The first is found in luxurious resorts where visitors can indulge in world-class amenities and championship-level golf. The other is found bouncing along the island's rugged back roads in a 4-wheel drive vehicle to explore off-the-beaten-path treasures. You're sure to find serenity, adventure, and privacy in any of the 3 regions of Lanai. Almost the entire island was bought by Jewish-American billionaire Larry Ellison, owner of Oracle. When COVID-19 hit, Ellison eliminated business rent on Lanai, and in 2018 he founded wellness company Sensei, which oversees spas and solar-powered greenhouses. Ellison owns almost the entirety of Lanai. He bought nearly 98% of the island in 2012 for a reported $300 million United States dollars. His purchase included 35,200 hectares of the island's 90,000 acres, 36,400 hectares of land. Lanai, which is home to about 3,200 residents, is the smallest inhabited island in Hawaii and is home to serene beaches, rugged terrain, high-end resorts and Ellison's sustainability ambitions, which he's executing through a development company called Pulama Lanai. The 141 square mile 365 square kilometers island, which is 8 miles 13 kilometers off the coast of Maui, has 0 traffic lights and few paved roads, according to Forbes. Compared with other Hawaiian islands, Lanai is secluded, but Ellison has plans to change that. He wants to turn Lanai into a tourist destination. Currently, the island is home to 2 Four Seasons hotels and a number of small B&B type accommodation choices. In Israel, Netanyahu is on trial for charges of fraud and breach of trust in 3 separate cases, as well as bribery in one of them. He denies wrongdoing. Ellison is one of several hundred prosecution witnesses in Netanyahu's corruption trial. His name reportedly came up in 2 of the cases, and a report last year said he lobbied and convinced Israeli mogul Arnon Milchan to drop his lawyer so Netanyahu could hire him. Travel beyond my New York City Manhattan zip code. I may covet a closet filled with Prada and LV, but what I want immediately is the opportunity to safely travel outside my zip code. As I listen to MSNBC, Fox and CNN, I am warned of COVID variants, the emerging need for booster shots, the increased number of people getting sick and death lurking just beyond the horizon. For 2 years, I have been sequestered in my apartment, timidly stepping into the city fully masked, avoiding contact with adults, children, and the immune-compromised. I cautiously steer clear of dogs and other pets, restricting personal interactions to my physical therapist, sports trainer, supermarket cashier, and the front desk receptionist at my gym. This is no way to live surviving COVID. Point the finger, who is to blame? There are many to blame, starting with the head of the World Health Organization, WHO, who was too timid to quickly identify a pandemic when he saw one. The Secretary General of the WHO is closely followed when it comes to blame by senior executives earning millions of dollars within the cruise line industry who are too tethered to their money to call an emergency even when it is brought to their attention by seasoned medical experts. Next in line of those to blame are airport directors who are more concerned with hanging on to ratings than in investing money to upgrade HVAC systems, replace furniture and fixtures with antimicrobial materials, or bring on robots and new technology to increase contactless operations. To blame are also airline executives. They often also prefer to hide COVID numbers behind glossy brochures and expensive videos rather than upgrade HVAC systems, replace fabrics and fixtures with antimicrobial products, or add robots to their staffing list. Running in tandem with these executives are tourism leaders who live in a yellow submarine, as they are either too naive or too myopic to recognize the disease as it crossed their borders, their piers, portals, and tarmacs, invading their countries and attacking their friends, families, and visitors. Falling into this swamp are tourists who are so incredibly blinded by their egos and narcissism to realize that sometimes wishes and wants are best delayed for the good of others, and now may not be the best time to join a motorcycle rally or cheer on a sports team with hundreds and thousands of like-minded travelers. Is it possible? Every minute of every day, television pundits have the temerity to face cameras and tell millions of viewers that in spite of all the dire warnings, it is time to move beyond the questionable safety of our neighborhood and travel to destinations with growing COVID-19 infections. Restaurateurs want us to visit their restaurants regardless of our virus status. The message encourages us to grab credit cards, children, family, and friends and spend the next few hours eating and drinking in spaces that may not have state-of-the-art HVAC systems or vaxxed and masked employees. Tourism industry leadership has yet to acknowledge that tourism activities, especially travel, are vehicles for the spread of disease. The industry should be at the forefront of disease prevention, designing and implementing health and safety protocols, systems, and procedures. Government officials responsible for tourism should publicly identify their roles and responsibilities, as they are the link between pandemics and their constituents, putting them in the position to restrict or even prohibit travel as a measure for managing the risks posed by the transmission of viruses. COVID-19 has created a tourism environment of uncertainty that will not dissipate. Even when COVID-19 is no longer a threat, new viruses and other diseases will find a way to enter our worlds, and once again the industry will be faced with uncertainty, i.e., the duration of the crises, support policies from governments, tourist behaviors. Government messaging misses. Research suggests that the government-funded COVID-19 messages are not working, more confusing than informative. The messages are muddled because they are not reaching the main target markets and are not providing consistent information that is useful and practical. Hotel, travel, and tourism leaders are also busy creating colorful videos with dancing airline personnel and waiters on skateboards. However, these messages are not reaching target markets. Why? Because in the case of the tourism industry, they are not addressing the primary travel decision makers, women, and not acknowledging their fears of travel during COVID-19. New York is requiring COVID-19 vaccination certificates for almost everything travel-related. Women in focus. When it comes to safety and security issues, women are more demanding than men in regard to the security measures they need in place if they are going to feel safe while traveling. The protocols they are looking for include good hygiene, the use of disinfectants, the existence of health and information checks by certified healthcare professionals, i.e., doctors, nurses, paramedics, official certifications presented by trustworthy sources, i.e., hospitals, medical schools, and healthcare decisions based on scientific data and not on financial incentives. Women expect that hotels will provide deep cleaning and lots of staff hand washing. Guests and staff should mask up, public spaces should be cleaned and disinfected on a published schedule and include common spaces, contact points, i.e., railings, tables, handles, sinks. Game rooms should be on the spaces to be disinfected along with elevators and escalators. In-room amenities such as TV remotes, light switches, and thermostats must be part of the protocols. Payments for all services should be electronic, and alcohol-based hand sanitizers available on each floor at entrances to hotel and food, beverage areas. Buffets should be eliminated or redesigned to be staffed. Women want to travel and have the money to spend. The travel experience offers an escape from daily routines while offering opportunities for social bonding and hedonic pleasures. It is important to note that women have reduced their travel time, and research, Brooks and Saad, 2020, found that 60% of female U.S. residents are experiencing fear and worry about being infected by COVID-19. Another study found that fear, disgust, and sometimes anger have become evident emotional responses related to protecting their physical safety during COVID-19. Female travelers perceive health risks from the virus, pushing them into despair that over time evolves into fear. Once the fear of the perceived health risk from the virus becomes the dominant emotion, they tend to avoid certain behaviors such as travel. Eliminate the silos. To reduce their travel fears, the industry must end its silo approach that segments the industry and produces mixed messages. By working cooperatively, the industry could provide connectivity between all sectors, making the travel experience less frightening. Travel to, from a destination should be seamless, from ground transportation to domestic and international aviation, accommodations, and dining with standardized protocols clearly visible along the entire journey. The public and private sectors with tourism responsibility should be publicly sharing their observations and recommendations with meetings unrestricted and not orchestrated by public relations consultants. The media and consumers have to know and understand the thought process for the decisions being made to travel or not, to open borders or not, to establish safety, sanitation, and security protocols or not, and if there are variations, the reasons for the differences. All public and private leaders and consumers should participate in the design, implementation, and use of new healthcare products, systems, and procedures with parts integrated vertically and horizontally. Leadership should come from the industry, based on ability and not on government connections or personal influence, or wealth. To reduce the fear and mitigate the risks associated with COVID travel, the industry must 1. Address all known opportunities for the spreading of the virus, health screening of guests and employees daily. 2. Require proof of guest vaccinations before accepting reservations and registration. 3. Enforce social distancing throughout the destination and accommodations. 4. Place physical barriers between travelers, guests, and staff. 5. Prohibit overcrowding at airports, airlines, attractions, events, restaurants, and hotels. The new normal will be a balancing act between maintaining a satisfactory experience for tourists and complying with the strict measures taken by the authorities on safety and hygiene protocols. My mind is made up. If all the warnings and what-ifs have not been convincing to postpone travel, the questions that need answers before handing over credit cards to travel agents include 1. What is the rate of COVID-19 spread at the destination? Are the numbers of infections and/or deaths up or down? 2. What is the rate of COVID-19 spread in your own community? 3. Will you be able to distance yourself by at least 6 feet from the people with whom you are traveling? 4. Are your travel friends, family at high risk for COVID-19? 5. Do you live with a high-risk COVID-19 person? 6. Will the state or local government where you live and/or at your destination require you to stay quarantined for 14 days after traveling? 7. If you get sick with COVID-19, will you have to miss work or other obligations? 8. If you get sick while traveling, what are the protocols required by local governments and what is the status of healthcare, hospitals, doctors, medicine, at the destination? Will your insurance cover these costs? Proceed with caution. The car. If your travel mode is automobile, pre-trip planning requires a thorough and total cleansing and disinfecting of the vehicle. Every surface should be wiped down, windows, seat belts and buckles, steering wheel, door handles, controls, floors, etc. In addition to snacks and water, have backup supplies of antibacterial wipes and hand sanitizers. Once everyone is in the car, keep the windows open when possible. If this is not doable, use the 8C and set the air ventilation to non-recirculation mode. Limit the number of people traveling in the same car and make arrangements for everyone to wear a mask where it belongs, not as a chin diaper. Stopping for gas or snacks? Designate a runner for gas and/or snacks, someone who is not at high risk. The runners should be totally masked and have clean, sanitized hands before getting back into the car. The plane. January 21, 2021, a rule set up by the federal government determined that it is a violation of federal law not to wear masks on public transportation, CDC guidelines. All commercial flights should require passengers to wear a face mask, including children aged 2 and older. Trust no one. You have no idea who is seated next to you, in front of you, and 3 rows behind you, so mask up. In addition, keep hands clean and avoid touching surfaces, your face, and other parts of your body. Parks. With media and healthcare professionals recommending outdoor activities, park attendance has been increasing. If you decide to sign up for forest therapy, identify parks that are close to home, considered less risky, and contact park management to determine if the facility is meeting COVID protocols with open and clean toilet facilities, including running water, toilet paper, soap, and disposable hand towels. Are playgrounds open and meeting CDC guidelines for distance and sanitation? If the park offers swimming pools, hot tubs, or other water-based play areas, what systems are being used to keep guests safe and COVID-19 free? If you and/or your travel mates are sick, have tested positive or recently been exposed to COVID-19, do not go, and regardless of health status, never frequent a crowded park. Hotels, B&Bs. Before sharing credit card information to reserve a room, investigate the hotel or rental property's cleaning program, products used, frequency of cleaning. If workers are masked and vaxxed, will there be 24 hours of empty space after one guest leaves, and you occupy the space? Perhaps it is best to clean your own space, just to be sure. Bring in your own favorite cleaning supplies and sanitize the surfaces before you and friends, family occupy the spaces. Unvaxxed. If you are a risk taker and plan to travel without receiving a vaccine protocol, get a viral test 1 to 3 days before departure. Wear a mask on all public transportation and indoor spaces, including airports and train stations. Avoid crowds and stay at least 6 feet away from just about everyone. Wash and sanitize your hands frequently with hand sanitizer that is at least 60% alcohol. Testing should be repeated 3 to 5 days after travel and be prepared to stay at home and self-quarantine for at least 7 days after travel, even if you test negative. If you test positive, isolate yourself to protect others. Not prepared to be retested? Just stay home in isolation for 10 days after returning from travel. Travel information. For updated travel information, a good source is travel.state.gov. Copyright Dr. Eleanor Garley. This copyright article, including actual photos, may not be reproduced without written permission from the author. Rebuilding travel.
Endangered black rhino protection in Tanzania takes new stride, aiding tourism. Ngorongoro Conservation Area in Tanzania this week launched a new protection method to save the most endangered black rhino within its conservation ecosystem and the rest of the East African region. Jointly with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Tourism with technical support from Frankfurt Zoological Society, FCS, Ngorongoro Conservation Area Authority, NCAA, is now protecting its rhino population with special marks and electronic devices for radio monitoring for ease tracking. 10 rhinos will be marked in the conservation area by this month. The number of rhinos living inside the Ngorongoro crater has grown to 71, among them 22 males and 49 females. All rhinos living in Tanzania will be marked with identifying numbers preceded by letter U to differentiate them with those in neighboring Kenya, being marked with identifying letter V preceding an individual animal's number. The official numbers designated for the rhinos in Ngorongoro in Tanzania start from 161 to 260, conservation officials said. Identification tags on the rhinos' left and right earlobes will be placed, while 4 of the male mammals will be fixed with devices for radio monitoring to monitor their movements while venturing beyond the conservation boundaries. Protection of these black African rhinos in Ngorongoro is going on at this time when conservation experts are facing problems connected to an increasing human activity in this heritage area due to rocketing human population sharing its ecosystem with wildlife. Save the Rhino International, a United Kingdom UK-based conservation charity for in situ rhino conservation, said in its latest report that there are just 29,000 rhinos left in the world. Their number had dropped sharply over the past 20 years. Researchers from the Sigfox Foundation have been fitting rhinos in southern Africa range states with special gadgets with sensors to track their movements to save them from poachers, mostly from Southeast Asia where the rhino horn is desired. By tracking the animals, the researchers can protect them from poachers and better understand their habits to protect, then swap them to breed them within protected areas and ultimately conserve the species. The Sigfox Foundation is now partnering with 3 of the largest international wildlife conservation organizations to expand the rhino tracking system with sensors. The first phase of the rhino tracking trial, called Now Rhino Speak, took place from July 2016 to February 2017 in areas protecting 450 wild rhinos in southern Africa. South Africa is home to 80% of the world's remaining rhinos. With populations decimated by poachers, there's a real danger to lose the rhino species in forthcoming years unless the African governments take serious steps to save these big mammals, Save the Rhino experts said. Black rhinos are among the most poached and endangered animals in Africa, with their population decreasing at an alarming rate. Rhino conservation is now a key target which the conservationists are looking to ensure their survival in Africa after serious poaching which had decimated their numbers in past decades. Mkomazi National Park in Tanzania is now the first wildlife park in East Africa specialized in dedicated for rhino tourism. Overlooking Mount Kilimanjaro to the north, and Tsavo West National Park in Kenya in the east, Mkomazi National Park boasts an array of wildlife including more than 20 species of mammals and some 450 species of birds. Through the George Adamson Wildlife Preservation Trust, the black rhino was reintroduced into a heavily protected and fenced area within the Mkomazi National Park, which is now conserving and breeding black rhinos. African black rhinos were translocated to Mkomazi from other parks in Africa and Europe. Black rhinos in Africa have over the years been the most hunted animal species, facing great dangers to their extinction due to a high demand in the Far East. Covering an area of 3,245 kilometers, Mkomazi National Park is one of Tanzania's newly established wildlife parks where wild dogs are protected together with the black rhinos. Tourists visiting this park may see wild dogs which are counted among endangered species in Africa. In past decades, black rhinos used to roam freely between the Mkomazi and Tsavo wildlife ecosystem, extending from Tsavo West National Park in Kenya to the lower slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro. African black rhinos are a native species living in eastern and southern African range states. They are classified as a critically endangered species with at least 3 subspecies declared extinct by the International Union for Conservation of Nature (UCON).
Allegiant announces new non-stop Key West flights. Allegiant expects Key West to be a big draw for leisure travelers seeking an affordable, convenient vacation spot for warm winter getaways. Allegiant to launch flights from Asheville Regional Airport to Key West on November 18. Allegiant to start service from St. Pete Clearwater International Airport to Key West on November 19. Allegiant will use Airbus A319 aircraft on new Key West routes. Allegiant will add non-stop service from North Carolina's Asheville Regional Airport (AVL) to Key West International Airport (EYW) beginning November 18, and non-stop service from Florida's St. Pete Clearwater International Airport (PI) to the island city beginning November 19. Allegiant announces new non-stop Key West flights. Allegiant plans to serve Key West twice weekly and on varying days on each of the new routes, using Airbus A319 aircraft. Key West is one of the most sought-after destinations in the U.S. right now, said Drew Wells, Allegiant's Senior Vice President of Revenue and Network Planning. We expect it to be an even bigger draw for leisure travelers seeking an affordable, convenient vacation spot for warm winter getaways. In June, Allegiant added twice-weekly non-stop service to Key West on Airbus A319 aircraft from Nashville International Airport, BNA, Pittsburgh International Airport, PIT, and Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky International Airport, CVG. We're thrilled to welcome North Carolina visitors from the Asheville region and our Florida neighbors from Tampa St. Pete as this new service will help to remove cars from traveling the overseas highway, said Richard Strickland, Director of Airports for the Florida Keys Monroe County. Survival of African big cats, wildlife and tourism experts worried. Marking World Lion Day this month, wildlife conservation in Africa is worried over the future of one of its African big cats, the lions, on the continent after rising numbers of poaching syndicates are looking for their body parts. Wildlife conservation groups and charity organizations in Africa are worried over the rising cases of lion poaching, mostly in West Africa where these famous animals are critically endangered, while poaching has increased across the eastern and southern African region. Rising demands for lion parts in Southeast Asia has fueled poaching in Africa. The encroachment of livestock keepers on wildlife conservation parks have so far caused conflicts between nomadic livestock keepers. This is leading to killings of lions by poisoning, shootings by spears, and poisoned arrows. High incidences of lion poisoning have also been reported in East Africa as nomadic communities retaliate after attacks on their livestock, said Edith Kabesimi, Wildlife Campaigns Manager at World Animal Protection's Africa office in Kenya. Sanctuary retreats in Ngorongoro Crater Camp. She said that demand for lion products, like bones and teeth, in the fast-growing herbal medicine industry has also fueled their poaching in the African wild. Kabesimi said that other threats to the African lion include captive breeding and trophy hunting, adding that enactment of new policies, regulations, and heightened campaigns are key to saving the carnivore and sustaining the resilience of the continent's natural habitats. The population of African lions is estimated to have declined by as much as 50% over the last 25 years. Conservation experts said there is a real threat to lion survival from loss of habitat, persecution from human conflict, and growing illegal trade in lion parts. Lions form a crucial part of our biodiversity and natural ecosystems, and this event will help not only to raise awareness for their plight but also to shine the spotlight on the many more successes that we need to scale up to ensure their future sustainability, Kenyan Tory SM Minister Mr. Najib Balala said. Statistics from World Animal Protection indicate that Africa's lion population is currently estimated at 20,000, down from about 200,000 lions 100 years ago. South Africa is the only nation to allow large-scale lion breeding, where the animals are often kept in packed cages or enclosures. Killing lions for their bones and other parts has emerged as a more recent threat. Although lion bones are not part of traditional Chinese medicine, as tiger populations decline, these more readily available products are entering illegal wildlife markets as substitutes. Lions are the most and leading tourist attractive animal, pulling big crowds of tourists on safari in East Africa. U.S. Northeast braces for Hurricane Henri strike. With wind speeds currently around 75 miles per hour, Henri is expected to batter Long Island or southern New England on Sunday. Tropical storm Henri upgraded to a hurricane. Severe weather warnings have been issued across the northeastern U.S. Heavy rainfall is expected, with the National Hurricane Center warning of up to 10 inches of rainfall in some areas. Tropical storm Henri has been upgraded today to a hurricane level by U.S. National Hurricane Center. Henri was upgraded from a tropical storm to a hurricane on Saturday morning, and is expected to make landfall on Sunday. FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell. Severe weather warnings have been issued across the northeastern U.S., as Hurricane Henri tracks northwest across the Atlantic. With wind speeds currently around 75 miles per hour, Henri is expected to batter Long Island or southern New England tomorrow. Should it hit Long Island, it will be the first hurricane to strike there since Gloria in 1985. If it makes landfall in New England, it will be the first hurricane to do so since Bob in 1991, which killed 15 people and racked up a bill of more than $1.5 billion in damages. Henri is currently bringing wind speeds of around 75 miles per hour, 120 kilometers per hour, toward the U.S., and is expected to strengthen as it nears land. Storm surge warnings have been issued from New York to Massachusetts. The governors in these states, as well as in Connecticut and Rhode Island, have advised against unnecessary travel. Connecticut and Massachusetts have also called up members of the National Guard to active duty in preparation for Henri's arrival. Heavy rainfall is expected, with the National Hurricane Center warning of up to 10 inches of rainfall in some areas. Heavy rainfall from Henri may result in considerable flash, urban, and small stream flooding, the center advised, adding that a tornado or two may occur in New England on Sunday. New England is already sodden after several weeks of heavy rainfall. Federal Emergency Management Agency (FEMA) Administrator Deanne Criswell said on Saturday that these waterlogged conditions mean Henri could easily uproot trees and power lines, potentially leading to days of outages. We're going to see power outages, we're going to see downed trees, and even after the storm has passed, the threat of falling trees and limbs is still out there, she said. $15.39 billion, China's car rental market is booming. The market will embrace high-speed development after the car rental industry reshuffled over the previous 5 or 6 years. High-speed growth predicted for China's car rental market. China's car rental market to top $15.39 billion in 2020. China's car rental market is expanding steadily. According to the latest industry report, China's car rental market is about to enter the high-speed growth period and top 100 billion yuan $15.39 billion United States dollars in 2022. The market will embrace high-speed development after the car rental industry reshuffled over the previous 5 or 6 years. In 2021, the industry saw some car renting companies with high competitiveness including China Auto Rental and EHI taking the major share of the market. There are 418 million Chinese people with a driving license in 2020, but the private car ownership is only 244 million in the same year. As the number of legal drivers without a private car increased sharply, a large customer base for the car rental market emerged, noted the report. Thanks to favorable policies and growing consumption, the country's car rental demand is expanding steadily, the report said. Violent street protests break out in Sydney and Melbourne, hundreds arrested. Ahead of the marches, police declared a zero-tolerance policy for any protest in Sydney, with the New South Wales Deputy Police Commissioner Mal Lanyon saying some 1,400 officers would be deployed for that purpose. Australians are protesting anti-COVID restrictions. Sydney and Melbourne protests lead to clashes with police. Dozens of protesters arrested. Violent protests erupted today in Australia's 2 major cities. Saturday afternoon demonstrations in Sydney and Melbourne, with thousands of Australians denouncing ongoing strict anti-COVID-19 measures, coronavirus lockdowns and curfew orders, chanting slogans and hoisting anti-restriction signs, quickly escalated into heated protests and clashes with police, who responded with pepper spray, roadblocks and a series of arrests. Violent street protests break out in Sydney and Melbourne, hundreds arrested. Footage making the rounds online showed crowds making their way through Melbourne, at some points clashing with a heavy police presence deployed to block the march. Pepper spray was unleashed on the demonstrators in response. A number of arrests were also filmed in Sydney, where one man was heard screaming, "Why are you arresting me?" as he was hauled away by officers. Ahead of the marches, police declared a zero-tolerance policy for any protest in Sydney, with the New South Wales Deputy Police Commissioner Mal Lanyon saying some 1,400 officers would be deployed for that purpose. Lanyon insisted, "This is not about stopping free speech, this is about stopping the spread of the virus," while the state's police minister David Elliott warned protesters would face the full force of the NSW police. In addition to the large police deployment, authorities also ordered rideshare services not to carry passengers into Sydney's central business district, while trains will not make stops at some stations across the city, according to local reports. Police roadblocks were also seen in Sydney, an effort to close off major streets to protest marches. The demos come soon after officials in New South Wales announced an extended COVID-19 lockdown on Friday, set to put nearly half of Sydney's 5 million residents under a nightly curfew until mid-September. A similar order is already in place in Melbourne, meaning more than a quarter of Australia's population will remain under lockdown restrictions, which require residents to stay at home with a few exceptions. NSW Premier Gladys Berejiklian argued the move was needed to slow the spread of the more infectious Delta variant, which has driven a surge in cases across the state. It reported 825 locally acquired infections on Saturday, a significant increase from the 644 tallied the day prior. The state of Victoria, where Melbourne is located, has fared much better in recent weeks, though is beginning to see an uptick in cases, reporting 61 over the last 24 hours, up from 57 the last 2 days. Victoria hit its peak last August, when it saw an all-time high of 687 infections in one day.